we can 30 by 30. Yeah.
Sure, that sounds good to me. Do you all have like an introduction you want to do before I get started, or should I just hop right into it?
We will do some action items at the end, which are really important. And then we'd also like to go over some of the outings because the outings are getting a little bit scrambled in the sense that we can't always associate them directly with a session. So we'd like to just be sure to go through that. And Shruti wanted to do that.
Okay.
One more person coming in.
Two more.
Couple of other people.
Yeah. Nice.
Okay. And in fact, Shruti, if you get a chance, then you may actually write them in the chat.
Yeah, I was just gonna, yeah, I think the slide with the dates, but I'll just paste it in the upcoming events so we have it in the chat as well. We'll do that right now.
Okay, and I am going to put this link once more in the chat because some people have just joined. This is a link to next Thursday night at 7 from 7 till 8. There is a short Bay Alive advocacy training session, which is a really great session for if you're interested in advocacy and if you're interested in the Bay. And it's part of the first session, which was Bay Alive. And but it's taken a couple of months to put together and publicize. And we have a lot of people interested, and we hope that you would join too. Okay, Dash.
Awesome. Thank you, Geeta. I'm going to start sharing my screen just now.
Hi, Christine and Shivi.
Okay. Cool. Hello, everyone. My name is Dashiell Leeds. I'm the conservation coordinator for the Sierra Club Loma Prieta chapter. I've been with the chapter since 2019. I'm here to talk to you all about bird safe design and dark sky policies. So thanks so much for everyone who attended virtually, and thanks to everyone who's watching this video after the fact. Appreciate you, spending your time with us. So I'm going to talk a little bit about dark sky to begin with and light pollution. So this is what our night sky should look like. You can see there's plenty of stars. You can actually see the Milky Way. This is a beautiful night sky. Unfortunately, as many of us know, our night sky often looks like this. This is a more pixelated photo taken by volunteer Keith Wandry of San Jose from the hills. But as you can see, there's almost no lights in the night sky. This is one of the products of light pollution. Cumulative sky glow. So all of our lighting sources come together, they pool their collective lighting, and it effectively blots out our vision of the night sky. And this is unfortunate not only for the loss of beauty in the natural world, but as we'll go into a little bit later, actually affects us on a deeply biological level. So you can see here, here's another example of cumulative sky glow as visible from space. So our cumulative impacts as far as light pollution go are absolutely massive. You can see right here is the Bay Area. So here's where we are, right in this bright bed of light surrounding the Bay here. Now, what contributes to artificial light at night? Sometimes it's abbreviated as ALAN. I'm just going to call it artificial light at night. Well, it comes down to the mismanagement of each individual lighting fixture. And what I mean by that is that there's a lot of different ways for lighting fixtures to have negative impacts. On the right, you can see here, it's an unshielded fixture, so there's nothing actually, there's no barrier that's actually preventing the light from shining outwards. So it's shining up, it's shining out, it's shining everywhere. This contributes greatly towards cumulative sky glow. On the left here, you see a partially shielded fixture, but as you can see, the angle of light still goes pretty sharply upwards. It looks like at about a 45-degree angle, and that's going to contribute to cumulative sky glow as well. You can see all of these individual traces here are the insects that are caught in this light and attracted to it, which we will explain in a little bit. Now, on the flip side, and let's take a look at some lighting fixtures here. All the way on the right, we have a dark sky compliant fixture. This is the best kind of fixture for light pollution. It's angling the light downwards. There's no light trespass to the side or above. This kind of light fixture is generally what we want to see. This is called dark sky compliant lighting, also known as a fully shielded or full cutoff light fixture. And as we go further to the left here, the cutoff and shielding gets reduced more and more until you have the worst fixture with light shining off in all different directions. So why is this an issue? And I think there's no better way to begin talking about the biological impacts of light than with birds. A lot of birds migrate at night. Here on the West Coast, we live in the Pacific Flyway, so we are in what is essentially a migratory bird highway. Birds fly up and down the West Coast. They rely on bay habitat to oftentimes forage in winter or even just rest and refuel. Uh, Unfortunately for birds, they are very easily distracted by cumulative sky glow and localized harsh lighting. So the photos I've selected here are from an annual monument to the folks who tragically lost their lives in the September 11th attacks. This is called the Tribute in Light. They activate it September 11th every year, two colossal sky beams shooting up into the sky. These specks that you see here, this is not dust, these are birds and bugs and bats. These beams, incredibly powerful, create a phenomenon that is sometimes called by scientists capture, which is a bird flies into the light beam, gets completely disoriented by the powerful lighting, flies around in circles, calls out in confusion, which attracts more birds. And so very quickly with these beams on, scientists observed that thousands and thousands and thousands of individual creatures were getting basically trapped in these light beams, and they would fly around, they'd get exhausted, some of them would die or collide with other beings flying around in the sky there. Scientists ended up working with the operators of this monument to periodically turn off the lights when they detected critical concentrations of birds or other creatures. So this is an example of scientists working with the lighting folks to find a solution to prevent the impacts of light. But birds are not the only creatures that are affected by artificial light at night. It basically affects all of us. I will go a little bit deeper into that, but there's another dimension of lighting that I want to talk about first. And this is color temperature. I promise this is the most technical I'm going to get, so you won't be seeing too many graphs like this in this presentation. But I think it is important for demonstrating how color temperature can be understood. So color temperature, as it pertains to lighting, is measured in Kelvin. The way to think about it is the higher the Kelvin, the bluer the light, the lower the Kelvin, the redder the light. So if you see on the bottom right here, we have 5,000 Kelvin. This is an incredibly blue light source, upwards of 4,000 to 5,000 Kelvin. We're mimicking the light of the sun at this point. You can see here that this graph here is all of the spectrums of color that are present in this light and how much of that color is present. So you can see here in a 5,000 Kelvin lighting fixture, you have a huge, huge spike of blue light here and not that much red light. But if you go all the way to the other side of the equation, all the way down to 2,700 Kelvin, the blue light is really small. There's not that much blue light here, and you have a ton of yellower and red light. So why is this important? Why do we even track the color of light at all? And that's because that we have evolved over millions and millions of years with all of the other plants and animals on this earth under natural cycles of day and light or day and night. And daylight, blue light specifically, is really good at triggering the daytime reactions in humans and other living creatures. So studies have shown that not only can artificial light at the wrong time at night affect us biologically, but particularly it's the blue light that affects us more so than the red light, because we've evolved over these millions and millions of years to have these biological system responses to blue light. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the science on what the impacts of artificial light at night on us are. The science on this is immense. I have a huge database of just study after study after study. This is actually very well researched. But scientists have observed harms all the way of the levels from individual plants and animals all the way up to entire populations. They've observed that nearly all living things react to light, and nothing is spared. Even plants are not spared from the impacts of artificial light at night. So this is something that affects us all deeply biologically. And what sort of effects are these? Well, um, effects in humans have been observed across the entire life cycle of our species, from childhood to adolescence to old age, and in particular, these effects seem to result from the blue light. So it's like the 4,000 plus Kelvin lighting at night. Um, so we all have, as humans, circadian rhythms, and disrupting that circadian rhythm can present a whole host of issues for our bodies. This can affect the timing of our hormone releasing in the body, the duration and quality of our sleep, which itself can result in other adverse health effects. And this depends on the intensity of the light, so how bright it is, the proportion of blue light, so is it a high color temperature in Kelvin, and also the timing and duration of the exposure. So if we're exposed to a lot of blue light at the wrong time, and that's powerful blue light, it can have some pretty drastic effects on our bodies. Uh, these effects on our bodies have been shown to prevent or delay recovery from stroke. It's been shown to harden our arteries. Our skin wounds and whole body inflammation heals worse. On the flip side, controlling artificial light at night exposure in hospitals has resulted in better health outcomes. And in addition, the growth of outdoor light at night may be encouraging the spread of communicable diseases. Unfortunately, it sometimes works out like this. Mosquitoes that spread diseases have been shown to be able to be more active in these conditions. So in humans, there's a lot. There's a lot going on here. I've got some other studies that I've listed here, showing that one study here from Tulane University showing that total darkness at night was found to be key to the success of breast cancer therapy. There's some other studies evaluating the risk of light at night and associated with breast cancer itself, association with both breast and prostate cancer. The conclusion of that Spain study was that both prostate and breast cancer were associated with a high estimated exposure to outdoor artificial light at night in, of course, the blue enriched light spectrum. So the impacts are pretty severe for humans, and they're severe for all sorts of creatures. Bats, for example, have been shown to not jump from one tree to another when foraging if just a little bit of light is present. Turtles, when their eggs hatch, turtles often operate on natural light cues. Bugs and amphibians react to light. It has all sorts of biological cues in humans and animals and plants. So the impacts of light on these systems is deep for all of us. And why do we have so much light? Well, as we transitioned to LEDs, it became more energy efficient and cheaper to add more powerful lighting fixtures. And a lot of elected officials did not either know or understand the connection between light pollution and negative health impacts. And so they kind of went with their conventional wisdom that light is a symbol of progress and that more light is better and safer. But when you actually look at the science between lighting and public safety, researchers really haven't been able to draw a predictive model that correlates these two things. Studies can be all over the place, and it appears that in almost any situation, other variables will be far more influential than lighting when determining whether or not an area is safe. So what this means, fortunately for us in the public policy space, is that as long as we have enough lighting to keep people feeling safe, we don't have to worry too much about making our neighborhoods unsafe. We just make sure that they're adequately lit and that we are not lighting them when they don't need to be lit. So this again here is a map of the Pacific Flyway. We're on the red over here on the left. And this is the perfect transition point into bird safe design. So bird safe design is, I would call it like low-hanging fruit for any policymaker. And this is because the scale of bird deaths is so massive, but the problem is also completely avoidable. So in terms of the scale of the problem, in the United States alone, around 1 billion birds die each year just from collisions with buildings. They're one of the greatest bird killers in this country. And the culprit of this is see-through and highly transparent or reflective glass. Birds, unfortunately, do not have an innate understanding of what glass is. So if they can't see it, they don't perceive it as being there. So they can see habitat on the other side of glass and fly through it, causing a bird strike, or they see habitat reflected in the glass and try to fly towards that, and that causes a bird strike. You can see on the right here, this is the aftermath of a bird strike. It looks like this creature, unfortunately, was an owl that collided with this window. A lot of bird strikes do not leave these marks, and it's really difficult to actually correctly document them because the birds will strike the window, they'll get dazed, or they'll die on the spot, and then they're eaten by predators and taken away. So unless you're actually logging these things in the early morning, a lot of times we miss the evidence of bird strikes. So it could be that the number of bird deaths in the United States is even higher than estimated. This is an example from the American Bird Conservatory of highly reflective glass. As you can see here, if I'm a bird, I'm seeing all of these bushes and trees and space that I want to fly to. Look at all this habitat. I'm going to go here at full speed because I perceive it to be 20 or 30 feet away, and I can fly right into a window. The same thing happens if this was, instead of reflective glass, if this was just see-through glass and these trees were on the other side of the glass here. So avoiding these architectural features is an important component of bird safe design. Birds are really important. I almost consider not putting this slide in because I feel like it's almost self-evident for anyone who's been around birds. I know personally they make me feel really happy. I love waking up in the morning to hearing them sing, and given that bird populations are in decline in the United States and globally, I think it is very important to protect them from unnecessary death. And I want to cover a little bit about how we actually mitigate bird impacts. So in short, like the big takeaway here is we need to make sure that birds can actually see that windows are there, that there's actually a physical barrier there. So there is something called the 2x4 or the 2x2 rule, which is a 2-inch by 2-inch gap or a 2-inch by 4-inch gap. And basically, if you create visual indicators that close to each other, you create a physical, visible gap that is so tight that a bird says, I can't squeeze through that. That's a little too small for me. I'm not going to go there. And so we can create these visual indicators through a process called fritting. This is an example of a fritted window. You can see all of the tiny little dots here in the glass, and this makes this architectural feature, which is parallel panes of glass, normally an extremely hazardous architectural feature for birds, actually makes it bird safe because birds will see this fritting as they get close to the glass. They'll perceive this barrier and they will not try and fly through it. Here's another example of fritting. You can see here in the windows there is small opaque marks on the window panes, making visual barriers for birds. And here's another one. Again, this is a bridge, I presume, with two parallel panes of glass on either side. Could be very harmful, but they've used colored glass here to make a rainbow effect, and looks really nice and makes it bird safe. And here's another artistic vision of bird safe design, turning fritting into something of an art form itself. These are all photos from the American Bird Conservancy. So if you're ever curious about other examples of bird safe design, you can go to the American Bird Conservancy's website and check some of them out. And here is another example of fritting that I like. It's kind of like a techno-futuristic fritting, but there's all sorts of ways that you can do it. Like even just at home, like pulling your blinds down can be considered fritting, or if you want to hang things in front of or behind your window, that can also be considered fritting. So how do all of these things combine? And I want to sort of talk a little bit about what the policy looks like and also a little bit about what we in the Sierra Club have done with regards to these policies. So like in summary, if you were to ask me, Dash, describe in short what a dark sky ordinance and what a bird safe design ordinance look like, I would say, okay, here's the dark sky ordinance. You have a lighting curfew to turn off lights at night when they're not being used. For key public areas like parking lots or walkways that people need to go to at night, you can have those set to motion sensors equipped with timers so that they turn on when they're needed to be used. And then once the use stops, after about 5 minutes, that light can turn off so we're no longer using it. We use fully shielded light fixtures angled at the proper use for that lighting so we don't have light spilling up into the sky or into our neighbor's yard or window. And we make sure that we're using a low color temperature, preferably 2700 Kelvin or below, to get that nice yellowish reddish light that disturbs us less. and that's dark sky. For bird safe design, you can identify a bird safe area in your city, nearby habitat, or you can make it citywide. And you can basically say that for a percentage of a building facade, no more than, let's say, 10% of that glass is untreated. And treated glass has bird safe techniques such as fritting applied to it. So we just make sure that as we build new construction, that we're not putting in these big, large panes of glass that are untreated. And we also advise, for folks who are building new construction, to avoid hazardous architectural features like parallel panes of glass, freestanding glass corners, or highly reflective or see-through windows. So we have got these policies, the language I've just described, or at least language very similar to it, in a lot of jurisdictions in our chapter territory. Before I go through this list, I want to thank Shani from the Santa Clara Valley Bird Alliance. She's been an amazing collaborator and partner in this. And before I was even active in the bird safe design or dark sky space, was an absolute legend in getting a lot of the balls rolling on this and getting these processes started. So Shani was particularly effective in San Jose, where she got bird safe design and dark sky language into both the downtown and the citywide guidelines, design guidelines and standards for the city. In Sunnyvale, our chapter played a huge role in getting bird safe design and dark sky language into Sunnyvale's Moffett Park specific plan, which is an area plan close to the bay. Sunnyvale also has citywide bird safety guidelines as well. In Cupertino, we fought really hard, Shani and I, to get both bird safe design and dark sky ordinances adopted by the city. And in Mountain View, I actually managed to sneak a little bit of bird safe design language into the city's building code for new construction. We do have some ongoing efforts underway. Palo Alto has already drafted bird safe design and dark sky ordinance language. At our urgence, we've urged them to do so, and we're going to be supporting those ordinances through adoption. We expect those to go to council sometime in April. Santa Clara County 2 years ago directed city staff to begin working on bird safe design and dark sky ordinances, again at our request. But those processes are kind of stalling out, and we're trying at this point to make sure that the direction is being followed up on and the county ensures that these ordinances will be worked on. In Los Altos, we urged them to create bird safe design and dark sky ordinances, which they did draft those ordinances. The Environmental Commission there wrote them, and we're trying to support those ordinances moving on through the City Council. So yeah, I know I've gone over a lot here. Thank you so much for joining me, and this might be a great time if folks have any questions or comments on the presentation. I would love to answer them.
I had one quick question. What prevents a city or a county from actually adopting an ordinance or putting in a building code? Is it the cost of adding fritting or whatever? Like, what is it that this whole thing sounds so logical to me to just have it, right? Part of a code or ordinance. So why would the city or county push back against it?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things going on here. So the cost of actually installing the fritting is pretty low relative to the cost of the facade and the whole building. So it really isn't too much of a lift. It kind of functions like a rounding error when looking at the cost of a building. However, speculation about cost can be a factor for cities, but we typically don't see like too much increased cost for that, though it is a concern. But there is cities have a limited amount of political willpower. There's only so much they can work on at once. There's only so much their staff can do at once. So part of the struggle is actually getting them to allocate the staff time and resources necessary to create the ordinances in the first place can be an issue. But yes, cost is also a factor. And for larger buildings like, with huge glass facades, that's when you can see the cost of bird safe design jump up a little bit. Yeah, Gita.
I think also architects, when we got to be modern architects, large areas of clear glass became sort of the expression of modernity. And it's still the case with the glass window walls on skyscrapers. And it's cheaper actually to use glass than it is to try to build walls. So the architects are very much also a culprit, and they don't know. They people don't know that this is the, and even if they do know, they're trying to make it so that you don't even, the inside and the outside is one thing. It's all in your house. You have big picture windows so that you can see out and so forth. So even in your own house, I put a thing in the Amazon link in the chat. You can put stickers on your windows in a way so that it doesn't interrupt the beauty of your view, but just enough so that birds will stay away. Or you can get, mylar tape that sort of flutters. You can stick a portion of it on your windows. No birds have flown into my window. Of course, I stopped washing my windows.
That's also a solution. But that was a great point you brought up, Geeta, particularly the point about education as well, that a lot of this just isn't known by either the general public or policymakers. So it's really incumbent on us environmental advocates to bring that information to them and make sure they're informed. Yeah, Hannah.
Yeah, sorry, this is maybe a bit of a diversion, but you were just saying about the whole, like, people don't know about it. I was curious if there's like any building certifications that are kind of in line with that. Like how there's like LEED, if like there's one maybe like wildlife friendly that bird safe design could be added into.
Unfortunately, I don't think there's any official certifications, but there's so for Dark Sky International has, they're an independent organization, but they create what's called Dark Sky certified lighting fixtures. So you can go out and buy a fixture that's Dark Sky certified. And then similarly, the American Bird Conservancy has what's called a threat factor rating. So they look at different solutions and they give them a grade based on how effective those solutions are at deterring bird strikes. But as far as I know, there's no, official government body or rating system that would give us that wildlife friendly
Okay, all right, great.
credentials. But that's a great question. I love that thought as an advocate, and
Yeah, I
Isn't
love
that
it
that
too.
is
I
that
think we
that
should. Yeah.
that's a very important question, Hannah, that you brought forward, because we can talk about it and we can talk with groups about it, but how do you get it out to the bigger thing? And the U.S. Green Building Council is what sets up the ratings for commercial buildings.
Mhm.
And they have a committee that sets standards, and a lot of, most cities have a requirement that you have to meet either LEED bronze or LEED silver or LEED gold,
Right.
LEED platinum. But LEED silver is pretty common. LEED, leadership in, and it started with the energy,
Yeah.
leadership in energy conservation. So it would be wonderful if we could sit at the table with the Green Building Council and add some biodiversity issues into the green building, because then it just becomes part of education, standard education for all architects who design buildings, And you're absolutely right. That is the better way, in fact, than even going city by city, to get to the source of it, the people who are actually thinking about buildings. They would be, they have to get their building certified, because every city has a certification, level for their homes and for and the state. California state sets, well, we call it light green standards because they're not as green as the U.S. Green Building Council, but still, every 4 years, they get more stringent and more stringent. So if we could figure out how to sit at that table, that would be the way.
Yeah, I think just like I remember just like the lighting, the dark sky compliant lighting, but in Santa Cruz County for the glass, the windows, they have something that needs to be bird safe. I think the contractors, I forget what it is called, but yeah, maybe something to look into. And yeah, but I love the idea that everything should be, yeah, wildlife certified.
Yeah. And one of the best pathways to get towards those sort of objective, broad standards at either like a state or national level is to get the local proof cases in place. Like the more cities we get that have these local standards adopted, regulators can look at those cities and say, okay, look, people are doing this already. These policies function on the ground level, and there's a groundswell of support for them. We should consider adopting them into either, the state building code or some sort of federal standard in like a universe where the federal government is doing very different things than it's doing now. But yeah, I do think that we definitely should keep our eyes on like a future where this is sort of a universal standard. And I think one of our best pathways to do that is to continue to fight locally for individual ordinances and policy victories like that.
Yeah, Ash, you're so right about that. We need, we need a critical mass of cities.
And for folks who are watching after the fact, who are watching the recording and have any questions, I'm going to share my screen one more time, this time with my email on there. So if you have any questions or if you want to get involved in bird safe design and dark sky advocacy, feel free to shoot me an email here. And yeah, thank you so much. I think I can hit it off here.
Well, thank you. I think our next session is, if we don't have any other questions, do we have any? Our next session will be on 30 by 30 and okay, seeing none, I'm gonna try to share here and start our next session, which is all about our 30 by 30 program. Okay, share. Oh, go to the slideshow. Okay, hopefully everybody can see my screen here. As some of you already know, my name is Shruti, and I'm the ESP program coordinator. But I'm also, since past June, working as our 30 by 30 task force coordinator for our chapter. So today, in just this quick presentation, I'm just going to cover a couple of things. And the reason we added it is this time our ESP program's overarching theme is about biodiversity. And 30 by 30 is one of our flagship campaigns, if I may say, to protect the biodiversity and it has it as one of its core goals. So in this presentation, I'll just be going over what the movement is, giving you some backstory to it, some of the work that our chapter and the Sierra Club California team's done so far to boost the efforts on 30 by 30 and what we intend to do moving forward. And also just how anybody can get involved locally with the 30 by 30 movement. One of the logos that you see down here is the Power in Nature. That is basically a coalition of several partner organizations, including us, that very much is leading the 30 by 30 efforts. And all of this is at the grassroots level, very local. And that's where I think there is the power to make a bigger impact, starting at the local level. Okay. Oops. Okay. Okay. So what is the 30 by 30 movement? I mean, it's many things, but I just wanted to highlight two main things that shaped it. One is that it is a global movement. The United Nations has adopted the 30 by 30, and the bigger vision is really focused on preserving 30% of our land and oceans. By that, I mean our coastal waters by the year 2030. So 30 by 30 is our first stepping stone towards half Earth. So here in California in 2020, California became the very first state to adopt the 30 by 30 as an official goal, a statewide goal, through Newsom's executive order, and it was made into law through SB 377. We have a statewide organization, the California Natural Resources Agency, is leading this effort, and they are the ones who are tracking where we are, and they're entitled to release public reports on how the progress has been made so far. Also wanted to highlight that 30 by 30 not only is just our public lands, but all our land and water management and ownership categories. So why is this really important? As many of you heard, California is one of the 36 biodiversity hotspots worldwide, which has the highest concentration of imperiled species. So overall, nationwide, we are seeing, a 34% of our plants and 40% of our animals at risk of extinction, and 41% of the ecosystems that are at a risk of collapse. So just wanted to highlight, we've done enough damage, and it's more important than ever, especially right now with the anti-environment policies that we've been seeing at the very federal level. So really to fuel this movement at the statewide level is now more important than ever. Just wanted to highlight some of the work that has been done since this was made into law. So the California Natural Resources Agency has a framework, which they call Pathways to 30 by 30, which are really focused on 3 different objectives. One is to protect and restore our biodiversity. The second one is access to nature. This is sort of the outdoors for all. The third one is to really build resilience towards climate change. And this is one of the documents that Sierra Club helped shape along with several different partner organizations, including the California Nation's Tribes. Similar one is, in the works for our marine protected areas as well. The Ocean Protection Council is leading it. And this really highlights all the goals and all the details that need to be done. So for more information, just wanted to put it out there. So quickly, where are we right now? We are sort of pretty close, not so close. So in terms of the land, we are at close to, can't really see, 25%. And we would need 5 million more acres of land to get to that 30% goal. And in terms of our oceans or the coastal waters, we are close to 16%, and this would require 500,000 more acres of water to be conserved by the year 2030 if you have to achieve the 30% goal. And all of these details, like I said, California Natural Resources Agency has a mapping tool, so you can really zoom into it around you, all the green areas, really tell you all the lands that is being protected and what is not. Like I said, it's just not only public lands, and we are really looking for a lot of grassroots activists to kind of get and say, this should be designated as public land and kind of speak up. So a lot to be done that way. Okay. So just moving on to the next, what the work that our chapter has done. These are just some pictures of the Power in Nature Advocacy Day in Sacramento, where all the partner organizations, and we have some people from Sierra Club California here as well, that were there and highlighting some of all our local conservation priorities. So just some of the work that is being done. So where are we with Sierra Club California? So the way it's structured is we do have a statewide team that is focused on the campaign. And then we also have several different task force coordinators from our 13 chapters. And under several different sub-teams. So we have the political strategies, the local conservation priorities, organizing and communications. I think I'll talk later because I wanted to highlight, what we're doing specifically locally here in Loma Prieta chapter. So I'll come back to these three topics again later in the slides. And these are in addition to we've adopted all the goals of the statewide campaign, the 30 by 30 campaign, which includes, what is this? So restoring connection to nature, protecting biodiversity, increasing our climate resilience, but we also want to focus on stopping some of the harms. And this is in addition, and this is some of the work, like I'll show you in the recent wins that I've done. When I say stopping the harms, specifically, and these are things that, you probably heard happening around you in terms of poorly sited renewable energy facilities where they're seeing show up, or mining or logging and thinning that we've been seeing with the wildfire protection. So Sierra Club California, in addition to all the statewide 30 by 30 goals, is also focused on really stopping the harms locally. So what are our goals? Like I was saying, these are our goals for 2025, very similar to what I've been speaking about so far. Is we want to really focus on the implementation, stopping the harms, like I said. Every chapter has local conservation priorities that they're important to them in terms of preserving. That is a focus. And then also really work with our partners. And in many of them, Sierra Club is either leading the effort or we are really partnering with several different organizations who are focused on this effort as well. These are some of the recent, I would say, events where we have seen changes. Like I said, for example, the Tesla Park one is really focused on stopping the harms. If it wasn't protected as a nature preserve, it would have been off-highway vehicle recreation area, right? And then the one in Coyote Valley was this purchase of the local ranch that finally, added it to the Coyote Valley area. Not all of the others are local, but this is some of the priorities that the Sierra Club California campaigns worked on so far. In terms of the funding, I just wanted to highlight here, I know there's a lot of written stuff there, that we're not really involved in applying for the funding. The state uses, and also really handling all the funding, the state uses state agencies like the Wildlife Conservation Board, Habitat Conservation Fund, and several others. The budget so far was, it was reduced this year, but Christine, would you mind muting? Thank you.
Oh, I thought I was.
Yeah. And then
it's complete, right?
recently the climate bond, I don't know how much of it is going to come, but there is a provision in there with the funding that was reduced statewide. We do expect 1.2 billion that will be used for nature protection. In addition to that, I also, like I said, for the Bay Alive, we're, there are several grants that are focused on sea level rise planning, and all of this information is publicly available on the California Natural Resources Agencies, where you can look at what grants are available to apply for. And we don't particularly, Sierra Club is not primarily involved in applying for those grants, but then like the Be Alive campaign that you guys have heard about. I mean, that really the grant that they're offering for sea level rise planning. There is also like wildfire resilience, tribal wildfire resilience grant. There are several others there's one on the endangered species as well. So, I mean, a lot of it also is about, like I was saying, stopping the harms and really preserving the biodiversity aspect of things. I don't, hold on 1 second. I don't know why this keeps moving. Okay. So far, some of the wins we've had are the San Gabriel's National Monument in Southern California. I hope I'm saying this, Molokloek National Monument, and then California's the first state park in 10 years, the Dos Rios, that's officially open. And then the recent ones the last ones that the Biden administration approved were the Chacuala National Monument and the Setetla Highlands National Monument. If you guys are familiar, you might have seen some petitions from Sierra Club on getting these approved as national monuments, and that did happen early in 2025. Moving on to our chapter, I just wanted to highlight our local conservation priorities. We do have, all the ones that are listed up there. The Coyote Valley, our main goal right there is to oppose some of the development projects. We made some significant progress with that, and we've been working with several of our partners in leading that effort. And the San Francisco Bay and the San Mateo Coast is one of our conservation priorities. And here, like I was saying, we've been, focused on supporting our Be Alive campaign. That's also very much focused on this. Here's one, the San Bruno Mountain is one where we're trying to stop the harms. The city of Brisbane is planning this, I think, a huge warehouse on San Bruno Mountain, and that would be, I think, completely destroy the local habitat. So we are really focused on opposing that. With San Benito County, I mean, we're still yet to come up with a whole list, but really working on our partners, which is the Protect San Benito County, and then also really following up on the San Benito County Conservation Plan. Locally are watersheds, Coyote Creek, Guadalupe Creek, and then, other campaigns that we are also involved in is supporting our, providing this wildlife connectivity with the Save Mount Diablo and then the Santa Teresa Wildlife Corridor. I mean, a lot of this, we're really hoping to get more volunteers and people involved so we can write about them and, work with our partners. At present, it's just me from our chapter. So yeah, if any of you are interested, please let me know. Oh, and then in terms of one of the things that we started last year as part of our Outings to Advocacy initiative is to have these 30 by 30 biodiversity hikes. We have one that is coming up with our outings. These are shorter hikes, fun hikes, but really talking about the local issues, the different species that need protection. And that's what we do on these hikes. We have a wonderful hiking leader who has a wealth of knowledge. So I will be showing, the upcoming one in April. I'll provide details to that. And then we also, we were lucky to have one of our youth volunteers, Aiden Chen. If you look at our Sierra Club website, he has a whole series of awareness through his artwork, where he's highlighted several of the San Francisco Bay shoreline birds. And this is both with our Bay Alive campaign. And this summer we tried something new, started with our students, also did write letters to our editors and some social media posts on 30 by 30, really spreading the awareness and making people aware of what 30 by 30 is. And one of the additional things that we're planning that before the end of this program that I'll have more information on is a 30 by 30 resolution that is really focused on biodiversity. And, maybe, yeah, we can add several different things to it. I don't know if, the design, planning and all that stuff also can be part of the resolution, but we're hoping to send it out to our different city councils and get it adopted. So they are thinking about this while they're planning several different development projects. And yeah, with the increase of AI and all the other stuff, we're starting to see a lot of development in our public lands. And we should be vigilant about that and kind of stop it. And hoping, yeah, we can do some local lobbying and get our council members or to join some of these hikes at our local conservation priorities that we've listed so far. Yeah, that brings, I think, to the end. I just wanted to highlight all the work and how we can get involved. If anybody has, these are just the upcoming events that I wanted to post the. Okay, I lost you guys there. Hello?
We can hear you.
Okay, I lost the Zoom window and I can't get it back. I don't know. Okay, how do I? Any tips on how do we get the Zoom thing back? It's just in my presentation mode and I can't stop sharing.
Oh, maybe hit escape or
Escape.
F5 if
Okay.
you're on PC.
Oh, cool. That did work.
Perfect.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions?
Well, that was super interesting. Lots to think about. And I very much appreciate the link to the things. I have an iClair with lots of glass, lots of glass. And I also don't wash my windows, so that helps. But I'll work to make sure that my outdoor lights are not pointing up and make sure that my windows are not going to invite birds to fly into them. And I linked, I went to save Mount Diablo because I didn't really know Mount Diablo needed to be saved. But isn't that part of the problem that we're not aware of dangers if we're not having people like you educate us? And I guess if I have a question, it might be, can we identify things for the Loba Prieten chapter that might go to the top of a priority list? Because we're getting introduced to so many things and we can't do everything.
Yeah, I worry too. I mean, yeah, I think, one of the things that we've talked several times of really having city watch teams, because, like, yeah, one person, we can't really highlight all of this. And like I said, the whole stopping the harms is a big aspect too, because we're starting to see, all of these development projects. I mean, there's no space to move into our public lands or our open spaces, which we would like to stop before that happens. So in terms, yeah, if I think, right now we've been working with our partners, but it would be wonderful to have a city team that's, you work with your city, just, like you or the planning department, all the development projects, and really, make sure they're not really going after any of the open spaces. I don't know if I answered on Diablo yet. I mean, that's upcoming. Yeah, we will be sharing more information. I think there is a stakeholder meeting coming up where we have different partner organizations. So hopefully we'll have an article up soon. Geeta or Dash or Susan, you guys want to add a few things to
I wanted to add that first, when Shruti laid out what's happening in our chapter, for example, and there are chapters throughout California that are taking on different issues. And Santa Barbara, for example, has a lot of large open spaces that they are concerned about. So there are campaigns in different committees that one can join. So, for example, the Bay Alive campaign is a fairly well attended campaign, so that has got a number of people. The Coyote Valley campaign, where we participate with a bunch of other organizations. So that's also a well peopled campaign. I don't remember some of the others, but like the Guadalupe the San Bruno Mountain, the Guadalupe Quarry, we are working with 4 or 5 other organizations: Green Foothills, the San Bruno Mountain Butterfly Collective, San Bruno Mountain Watch. So there are a lot of people, and oftentimes, Phyllis, there is strength in collaborating with other groups. And
I think
really magnify it. So
inspiration is
one thing I would say,
Yeah.
that this Bay Alive training, advocacy training, is not focused only on Bay Alive. It basically is what Shruti was saying, is to create watchdog groups. And they've got a very cute cartoon animation of watchdogs. So that would be an interesting one to attend, because they have letter writing group, and then Shruti also has mentioned that there's a letter writing group that for 30 by 30. So I think if one is interested in advocacy, you have to, and I think Dash has said this best, you have to pick what you might love to do or say and work on that. And I think and Dash has said this very well, which is the small victories are very satisfying. So if you can get a resolution passed in your own city council, every little bit is a step towards a tipping point. And that's what we're oftentimes doing at the grassroots, is we're creating those tipping points where suddenly it becomes something that everybody wants to do. So that's what I wanted to say. Otherwise, it's a little overwhelming. So Dash, you had something to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you, Shruti, for that awesome presentation. I loved getting the breakdown, and the resolutions are particularly exciting. I want to work on some of those with you. I wanted to highlight a project that you mentioned briefly in San Jose, just because I know we have at least a couple folks from San Jose on this call. You mentioned the LS Power, which is basically in reference, there's like 159 acres in San Jose close to the regional wastewater plant there. And the city has marked off that land. They call it economic development lands, but in reality, this 159 acres is open space, and it is precious, necessary open space that our wetlands will need to migrate into as sea levels rise. On March 10th, the San Jose mayor came out with his budget message basically saying, we are going to take this 159 acres and we are going to fill it with data centers. So that is a fight that I expect us to have locally, is to protect this 159 acres of open space marked for economic development. from actually being developed and instead preserve it as open space. So we'll have more information as time goes on that.
Sue?
Yeah, so I just want to say that to reiterate a point that Shruti made earlier about city teams, right? We've been trying to form city teams, and that could be a very powerful vehicle for involvement, because often city teams have several issues going on at the same time. For instance, Phyllis, in Palo Alto, we have the artificial turf ban issue, and we also have the bird safe buildings and the night sky issue that Dashiell just mentioned. That's they've the city council has agreed to put the night sky and the bird safe buildings on their list of priorities for 2025. Am I right, Dash?
Sorry, I actually had to step away from a second to let my
Okay.
partner in the house.
I was
Which city are you
saying
talking
that-
about?
I was just saying that in Palo Alto, right?
Oh, yeah. So not only is it on the
Yeah.
priorities, but they've actually written the draft ordinances already.
Yeah.
We expect them to go to city council next month, and we are working hard to support them to
Yeah.
be adopted.
And then there was another issue, right? A while back, which was the airport expansion issue, Phyllis. You're aware, right, of the airport expansion. So that's kind of on hold right now, Dash, or do you have
Yeah, so
a report?
yeah, with the airport, basically what happened is the city directed city staff, or the city council directed their staff to pursue a plan that involved not expanding the footprint of the airport. The major issue with the airport is they were looking to expand the footprint of the
Yeah.
airport into the parkland and wetlands.
Yeah.
So they directed their staff to find out a plan that doesn't involve that sort of expansion. However, the plans basically got tabled. It just wasn't worth it for the city to pursue this sort of planning effort, which was great because it just basically means we're even further removed from expanding the operations of the airport, which can
Yeah, which
increase
is good.
emissions and impacts. However, at the most recent priority setting session, there were a lot of public comments from pilots and other people invested in the airport that wanted to see these plans put back on the table. So there are folks out there currently organizing, applying political pressure to Palo Alto to revive these airport plans. So it's certainly not a done deal. And, if folks want to get involved and, communicate to Palo Alto City Council that protecting the wetlands and nearby communities from the impacts of increased air traffic is important, those comments would be extremely helpful.
Okay, so the airport expansion issue is sort of on hold now, but it's still kind of simmering.
Yeah, it's semi-dormant and could be revived at the discretion of the city council.
Okay, thank you. So I think city teams are a good way to go. I mean, if there's no chapter city team in your city, you can initiate the formation of one.
Yeah, and actually that's a good point, Sue, because that March 20th, next week's webinar is basically in order to form these city teams or watchdog groups, as they're calling them. But it is basically city teams.
Right.
Not an attempt to, not attempt, it's an advocacy way to reach out to start creating city teams, but also to do other things like letter writing or opinion pieces or research. Actually, what would be really interesting would be if we went around and just found out which cities we are all from in this particular group. So I could say that I am from Woodside, which is next to Redwood City, but it's a very small, very tiny little town. And I would just ask, I guess Phyllis next, since you're next to me on my screen.
Yeah, I'm Palo Alto, like Sue Chow.
Okay. And Shruti?
Yeah, I'm San Jose, and I think we have several others. San
Yeah,
Jose,
great.
Christie.
Great.
We have Dash now in San Jose as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's true. And then, and Sue, you're Palo Alto.
Palo Alto.
And Dash is San Jose. Christine?
San Jose?
Another San Jose.
Oh, my goodness.
There are
Okay,
three at this.
this is so exciting to
I
me.
know.
And the reason is that we never have people from San Jose. You know,
And I
we,
think, yeah,
isn't that true? I mean, we go to Mountain in
yeah,
Sunnyvale.
this is great. And I think Jack Chen, right? You know, aren't you a student
Yes, I'm
at San
currently
Jose?
a student at San Jose State, but right now my hometown is Castro Valley.
Oh,
It's
okay.
Castro Valley. Okay,
Yes.
but so you go all the way to San Jose State. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. And Poonam, you're Sunnyvale, right?
Yes, I'm from Sunnyvale.
Poonam is from Sun. Welcome, Poonam. You came late, but I noticed you
Yeah, I
joined.
joined 5-10
And
minutes late.
Susan, yeah, but you got most of it. And then Susan,
I live in Pacifica, not on the bay, but
out in the Bay, but you were San Jose.
I was, yeah, for quite a while.
And Hannah,
I'm in Los Gatos.
Los Gatos. Okay. Another beautiful town. That's where Dash used to live.
Yeah, could I actually chime in really quickly about Los Gatos? So there was a
Mm-hmm.
great volunteer for the Santa Clara Valley Bird Alliance. Her name was Juliana Pendleton. I wanted to credit her for this because she got inserted into the general plan in Los Gatos. Future plans to create a bird safe design and dark sky ordinance. So there's language in that general plan where the town says we want to create these policies. But as far as I understand, they haven't gone and done that yet. So as an advocate, for example, like Los Gatos is fertile soil for bird safe design and dark sky because we can go to the town council and we can say, hey, you said you were going to create these things in your general plan. When is the time for you to go and create some bird safe design and dark sky policies? So just wanted to highlight for you, if you're interested in those sorts of policies, that there actually is, I think, an opportunity in Los Gatos to make something happen there.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yeah, just wanted to quickly ask also, did any of you have a chance to do your action item of really writing to a city council on opposing the turf, or I think we had one on the Bay Alive. Did you hear back anything? Yeah, if you wanted to share. Yeah.
I sent a letter and then I zoomed into the meeting with the supervisors, and it was interesting and also disappointing to see who won. And I think also it was encouraging that the two people who are very much behind the ban aren't going to give up. I think it's so important when you don't win on the first, when you're playing soccer, if you don't make a goal the first time you shoot on goal, you don't give up. You get positioned to shoot again. And I think that's what I took away, that the supervisor leaders were planning to do. And what we need to do is do the local work. Sue and I met yesterday to talk about Palo Alto and what we can do in Palo Alto. And the helping people move toward long-term thinking in addition to short-term concern about loss of playtime for the young players, which is, it's a concern. So we have to make progress on better turf, better real turf, better grass, and teaching people that artificial turf has a lot of negative stuff that we need to pay attention to because it's a health hazard. So
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Thank you for stating that. People need to hear that over and over again, actually. A lot of people,
There is a
Chosen one.
petition. There is a petition that is circulating on the plastic grass issue.
Yeah, there are a lot of petitions actually circulating here and there, but the one that we're involved with was initiated by Mothers Out Front, which is a pretty large group in the San Jose area. I think it's spreading, outwards. So
There was a Susan Hinton, who is the chair of our Plastic Pollution Prevention Committee, actually brought up an issue of a case where where I think it was the Parks Department, some Parks Department purchased secondhand plastic grass and installed it in a large area, a large playing field area. And now it needs to be replaced. And they have a problem of where to throw all this, where to dispose of all this stuff.
Oh, that's an ongoing problem everywhere, Gita.
But this one could be a very good letter to the editor where, it's current and they are struggling with, what they should do with it because it cannot be recycled, obviously, and where they should throw such a huge amount of, trash, basically, not toxic trash.
Yeah, there's been a lot of news coverage of this problem of, old artificial turf ending up in empty lots, landfills, and all of that. And there were some parents whom we were working with who actually followed trucks, hauling out old turf. And they didn't take it to the place, where they said they were going to take it to. They said they were taking it to a recycling facility, but as it turned out, there was no recycling facility. So it ended up just being tossed in an empty lot. This has happened over and over again, and so it's a big issue.
Well, if anyone is interested in writing letters to the editor, I think Susan Hinton is ready to provide the topic. Okay. That's great. So, Shruti, you had some announcements you wanted to make?
Basically the 3 upcoming events that I posted in the chat.
Oh, okay.
But I can bring that up as well so we can take a look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you want me to, okay,
Yeah.
you can go over it first.
No,
Crystal.
I think the first one is, so our next ESP webinar is going to be about climate action. And we have an event ahead of it at one of our, the speaker's home, Crystal Wickham. So Sue, if you want to speak about, if you're interested.
These are not the webinars. These are sort of the outings.
Oh yeah. So I just wanted to put the webinar date is the same, I believe. I forget. April 11th. What is it?
It
That
would
whatever
be
we put on the website.
April 10th.
10th. Yeah, sorry, 10th.
April 10th.
10th, which is going to be on climate action. But before that, we have, if you're interested in taking a look at how and what fully electric home looks like, one of our volunteers that offered, yeah.
Yeah, so this upcoming webinar on April the 11th, right?
10th.
Will occur after, the outing, that's related to this topic. So the outing, which is a home tour, will occur on April the 6th, which is a Sunday at 11 a.m. So if you would like to go, I mean, it's really very interesting. She spent a few years working on her home. So, it is sort of like a model, all electric home. So if you would like to tour, go to this electric home tour, please email me. And I just put my email in the chat. Okay. Just email me to let me know because, this is going to be a rather interpersonal situation. So we can't advertise this electric home tour, on our Sierra Club website and put Crystal's address on there. because that would be, not very, safe. So if you want to go, you can just email me. Okay.
Would it be okay if somebody wanted to go, but they wanted to take somebody else along, or friend, or partner, or
Yeah, sure. You can
or
just
kid,
email me to let me know.
or
Okay.
their mother?
Yeah. So I need to know everybody who's coming, right? It cannot be, open to the general public. So,
Okay, and it's from 11 a.m. till 1 p.m.
well, we're thinking about having lunch at Crystal's home too. So, I'm thinking about bringing some sandwiches. So, it will be from 11 to like 1.
Okay.
But everybody has to let me know, so I'll know, how much food to get, and I know who is coming. This is somebody's private home, so we have to be respectful and careful.
Crystal Wickham, by the way, was an ESP
Yeah.
graduate and alumni who then became a sustainability commissioner in Sunnyvale.
Yeah.
And she organized right away a series of talks, very interesting talks on the topic of sustainability. And I guess that's a pretty active sustainability commission. That's been many years. She's still, I think, on it.
Yeah, Crystal was part of our first class, the 2014 to 2015 ESP class. And, as Agita said, she's gone on to do some great things, in her community. So we're, very happy with the way most of our, ESP, alum.
And she's also
turned out.
been the chair of the climate action leadership team for quite a few years, which is an extremely active group. Worked really hard on codes, California codes. So it's a very interesting group, and they have collaborated with other groups such as 30 by 30. I mean, not 30 by 30, 350.org, and other groups too, like fossil-free, the fossil-free community. So that I think, it's not just somebody's home, it's someone who's a very interesting person's home tour.
Yeah. Okay, so let me just see a show of hands as to who's interested. Oh, by the way, her home is in Sunnyvale, right? So it's not too far from some of us.
Will this will be advertised to all the people who are registered for ESP? Is that correct?
Right, but they have to contact me.
Yeah.
Right. Meaning they're not going to be able to get the address unless they contact me to let me know. We're not publicizing people's home address on the website. So yeah, can we see a show of hands as to who in this group, would be interested in in this electric home tour?
I'm a maybe. I have something from 10 to 11, and I'd have to figure out whether I could piggyback them.
Okay. Okay, anyone else?
I don't think I can make it. I would love to, but I'm not sure I can. I think that's part of the problem is weekends, people are busy.
Right. Okay. Okay, Shruti, can
Okay,
you
the
send out
second
a
item
notice?
is the one that
Yeah, sorry, Gita, you go ahead.
will the notice have no, I was just going, that's important, whether it'll have Sue's email, right?
Yeah, the email I will put it, but I just didn't want
Okay.
to put it up on this slide because it's,
Mhm.
I think, yeah, we can stop the recording.
Okay, we shall do that.